I see this with a lot of people where they get to a stage in life or a season where they're not able to do something that they love. Like honestly, one of the things that I see that is most common in people, at least in my season of life right now, is losing the lack of ability to run fast, sprint or run quickly. And it's because they go through a season of life where life gets really busy. They have kids, they have work, like they're going to hit the gym, and the last thing they're going to do is get in, go hit the track and do, 10 by 200s at 30 seconds or something like that with a full recovery. It's a long session and it takes a lot out of you, and you don't feel like you get a ton. And people end up losing the ability to sprint because they stop sprinting. And so I'm curious, like, I even saw this a little bit. You went through, this is actually something that I'm really impressed by, is I saw a season of life that you go through where you started to take away like some things, like, I'm not going to touch that weight I'm not going to go over this weight of a barbell. I'm just going to give up this movement. I don't need to risk injury or whatever. But I've actually seen you go back on that and actually start to play around with those things and regain those abilities. And I would say that, like, I look at you now and see an even fitter Ben than I did 10 years ago when we started to work together. And I think that's fascinating and it's been really, really cool. And so how does that weigh on you these days? And have you felt that in yourself? And do you see that much with people, even at CTNE?
Yeah, it's cool to have one of the fittest people that's ever walked the earth to say, like, I see you getting fitter. Like, so I appreciate it. That's really cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
And the student telling the teacher that the teacher is like getting better. It's really cool. Yeah. And well, maybe to put some context to it, I got to a pretty fit level. I competed on the CrossFit Games on a team. I did 2 Ironmans, right? So I was like, had a high level of capacity in a certain sense, but I was constantly injured. I would injure myself every single year. And then a old injury that I had when I was in high school just nagged forever. It was my lower back just always once a year kind of flared up really badly. And I ended up having back surgery, as you know, a fusion, L4, L5. And coming out of that is where I created some parameters for myself. So I just would I was like, kind of like I do with food I did with food for a very long time. It's easier for me to be black and white than have a whole bunch of gray. So with food, I was like, I'm just not going to eat bread, right? I'm just not going to eat desserts. I'm not going to have soda. I'm not going to have any baked goods. And I was able to do that for over a decade. It was just like, okay. Cause it was like, it's on the other side. Just like most people create those clear lines with cigarettes. It's like, I don't have to use willpower to not smoke. I just don't smoke.
Yeah.
And that's what I did for nutrition. So I took that practice into the gym and I was like, I'm just not going to lift anything over 135, no matter what. Like, doesn't matter if it's a clean, a front squat, or a deadlift. Like, that's like, I just won't go above that. And as you said, is like, I lived with that. I had surgery in 2013. And I did that probably almost for 10 years, right? Like almost right through like COVID, certainly even maybe like only in the last year or two, maybe I've kind of allowed myself to get back to working with like more traditional and true strength training. And the reason for that was first that level of, call it what you want, discipline, patience, whatever it is, systems, allowed me just to build up a huge foundation again to where I felt very, very, very comfortable with exploring some heavier weights. But honestly, it was when we started doing the strength progressions in comp train. Because we went in the old CrossFit methodology, you would do back squats and then you would hit back squats again. I took classes. I take classes. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So in the normal traditional class setting, even if you're a gym that's strength biased, is because there's so many different movements, we would do back squats and then we might not do back squats again for 15 days, 25 days, 31 days, right? And by the time I got back to it, I was like, every day was an experiment.
And sometimes those sessions are more often than not, those sessions were just built to a heavy back squat or built to a heavy double. Exactly. And it's been 20 days since you've stressed the body in that way.
So in that sense, I was like, well, I'm just not gonna go above 135. Right. And I hung out, made for full disclosure, I did kind of like move that 135 to 155 for a year and a half or something like that. But when we went towards this systematic strength of this linear progressions and cycles, and we back squatted every single week, it just completely changed it
Mhm.
because I
Mhm.
back squatted 155. And then the next week I back squatted 155. And the next week I back squatted 155. And after a month or so of that, I was like, dude, this is ridiculous.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to do 185. And I did 185
Mhm.
and I was like, okay. And I did
Mhm.
185 and I did 185. I was like, okay.
Totally. Totally.
And now I'm playing around again with like the real weights and then mid 200s again.
Yeah.
That was really the thing that kind of popped me out of that. To get to your like sprinting thing, it was the same. It was very similar in terms of plyometric training.
Yeah, well, that's funny you say that because I was going to bring that up. Is I've even seen you start to incorporating things like skipping and
Yeah.
plyometric work,
So
and
here is the thing, like part of it is the story we tell ourselves, which is I'm an older athlete. In 2 years, I'll be 50. I saw this thing on Instagram, yes, which is this ripped dude, and he's like,
Mhm.
in 8 years, I will qualify for a 55 plus community. And I was like, damn, that's literally me. Actually, I'm 7 years, but it's so weird when you like frame it that way.
Yeah,
In
just so
7
people
years,
know,
I
I
will
think that he's
qualify for a retirement community.
yeah, I was just going to clarify. We're not talking about 55 age group category of a competition. We're talking about retirement community.
Retirement community. So anyway, it ends up being the story we tell ourselves. And here's the biggest thing: with such infrequent exposures, I don't want, like, there's no way without the huge base building in the frequency to be able to touch and
Mhm.
play below the fringes that I want to work on true speed or explosiveness.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
just, I think the upside is so minuscule relative to the downside. Meaning, as you said, like for me to go out and run 100s, for me to go out and do true explosive plyometric work, for me to go and do heavy power cleans, if I only do any one of those things once a month, no way, man, right? But if we do some rotational med ball throws, which
Mhm.
we do in our program, right? And the
Sure.
next week we're doing some rotational med ball throws. And the
Mhm.
next week we do it. It's like, okay, like I can start to unleash
Absolutely.
a little
Absolutely.
bit of my
Yeah.
capacity because it's the
Yeah.
same thing with the 135, 155, and you play
Mhm.
with it until you're better.
Yeah.
So it's honestly because we do these things so frequently, the story is being rewritten in my brain about like, okay, no, you can let go a little bit.
Totally.
You don't need
Yeah.
to be this
Mhm.
fragile
Mhm.
walk
Mhm.
on eggshells when you're in the gym type
Yeah.
athlete anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've kind of morphed from this competitive athlete that got hurt every year to I haven't missed a training day because of injury
Mhm.
since coming out of my that's not true, like since like 2016 17 when I started
Mhm.
like really getting
Yeah.
back into. I let myself go after back surgery, and I have some good
Mhm.
before, in quotes,
Mhm.
before pictures
Mhm. Mhm.
to kind of show that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's because I told myself the story,
We're
like
gonna
I'm a
dig those
dad
up.
now, so the dad bod like popped up.
Yeah. Yeah. But we're reframing that dad bod.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, man.
But yeah,
I
it's
no,
it's
I
a little
yeah.
bit storytelling, a little bit programming, a little bit
Yeah.
hardwiring, a little bit
Yeah.
environment, a little bit, it's a little bit of all of that. And then to your point about skipping, this is like McMillan talked about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's a
Stu
brilliant.
McMillan.
Yep. About, kind of how what you want to do is like, what can you do to get the benefits
Mhm.
without the downside? And
Mhm. Totally.
skipping mimics the demands and mechanics of sprinting very, very, very well
Mhm.
without the potential downside.
Mhm.
So you can get a lot through. And skipping sounds like playground type, like kid
Totally.
thing.
Yeah,
I'll
totally.
call
But in
plyometrics, right?
yeah,
It's
really, it's low amplitude plyometrics. It's like
exactly.
it's not a high stress environment. I'm not having you bound to the point where like you're getting 2 feet off the ground, slapping down, and
Right.
then trying to bring your knees back up to your chest, which is actually the movement you first fell in love with me at the CrossFit Games in
Right.
2014.
Yeah.
um,
Gives out.
yeah, no, no, I absolutely hear that. And I resonate with this deeply because it was one of the things that I struggled with in my mind, not struggled with. It was actually it was clear from the beginning that I am not going to give this up when I ruptured my Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the first thing that I was going to get back was everything that I pursued was leading me to I want to feel free again, and that is the ability to move, to play, to have the tendon strength, the strength in my joints and my muscles to be able to. And it was this very structured small micro doses all of the time of the thing that I wanted to do that mimicked the movement I want in life. And I'm just seeing that a lot in some friends of mine or father-in-law or whatever figure it is. You know, they get to a point where like they're overcoming an injury, and it's like, okay, like we just got to mimic some of the movements in a controlled way, in a disciplined manner, structure it regularly, and get small doses, let the body adapt, and you can get that back, or at least keep what you currently have.
Totally. Yeah,
And I
I
just,
was
I
gonna say
don't,
is this is where the role of a coach or a good program comes into play, because
Mhm,
those movements, the reason your mind and your body goes like I don't know is
mhm,
because they can be higher risk for sure.
mhm,
Like, but when you kind of like understand how to like instead of, for me, doing a 90% plus broad jump, that's a lot of explosive
mhm,
full range of motion and impact. And
mhm.
as an
Totally.
athlete that's 7 years away from a retirement community, that I don't want to go and just jump into that guy. But if you put a medium to smaller size resistance band around your waist, it lowers the impact on the landing. You're like, oh,
Mhm.
I could play with that.
So it's
Instead
honestly,
of like
yeah.
just max effort jumps, we could do like split on a box, right?
Mhm,
1 foot
mhm,
high on the box, jump hard off that upper foot, and it creates a different dynamic. You're like,
mhm,
ooh.
mhm.
And I land on the opposite foot and absorb the impact. It's like, that's doable,
This
right?
is almost like backdooring it. It's like,
Exactly. Right.
you're going around the back door and giving yourself the potential to even do it. And I think one of the things is like you end up seeing it down the road if you implement these sorts of things. And it's not even just in plyometrics, but I mean, so many aspects of life skills and strength training, running abilities, fast running ability. If you implement these sorts of things, and all of a sudden you get out in life and experience something like, oh, wow, I didn't know I had that ability still.
You know where
And
we
you,
see that? Because you asked this, like, we're in the gym. Certainly, it's like, I think speed and explosiveness is the first thing that goes away.
mhm,
But what
mhm,
we're seeing it a lot with is people that kind of went like, that's not me. I won't ever be doing that.
mhm,
Is kind of like the females, particularly like the middle of life females
mhm.
that
Sure,
didn't grow up with strength training the way that
sure.
it's such a blessing that most of the kids now understand that,
Yeah,
if even if they don't do it, they understand the importance of it,
right,
right?
right,
But my generation did not.
right.
Like, we did not grow up with like, this is vital to your health and
Mhm,
performance.
mhm,
Is when you get, and it's what's so cool to see, when you get this repeated exposure, like, hey, we're gonna bench press every week. The girls and the women, in they just start lifting and
yeah,
lifting
yeah,
real and
yeah,
lifting heavy and
yeah,
getting strong.
totally.
So that idea of, yeah, fast and explosive probably is the first to go for such a huge population. So I think when people think generally, it's still the thing. When they think fitness, they think thin and
Yeah,
high levels of cardio.
right.
Can you run a marathon? Particularly people over the age of 40.
Mhm,
And we know how important the strength aspect is, and
totally.
that has been awesome, like
Mhm,
awesome
mhm.
to see in this shift, in this mindset, in programming and approach.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It really
Super
has.
cool.
It's been a lot of fun, and it's really fun seeing people experience life differently because they're becoming more well-rounded,
Mhm.
and they have a complete picture of it. Absolutely.
Yeah. What is, when you say like they're becoming more well-rounded, when you think of that term, like, what pops up to you when you say, first, maybe like, why well-rounded?
Yeah, absolutely. I think well-rounded is so important just to to experience the fullness of life. Like, be that athletic endeavors, be that what you want to do outside of the gym, outside of sport. It's like, what is the fullness of life that you want to go do and be capable of doing? And having well-rounded fitness is really kind of a door, a key, a vehicle that will afford you that gift. And I really mean that in terms of, it's a gift to feel free. And I've actually used this. Uh, I've probably been saying this for a decade and a half. Of I I got into CrossFit, and it was actually post football. I was looking for an avenue of fitness that could really teach me the principles of fitness and understanding. And that's when my buddy hit me over the head with CrossFit and, hey, you're going to go to the CrossFit games and stuff, whatever. And it was a great avenue. But even in that exploration, I realized, and we've talked about this ad nauseum now, but even throughout my CrossFit career, I was like, okay, like that's not just it, like that's a part of it, but there's so much more that I have to be disciplined in order to have well-rounded fitness. And one of those that I think that we talk about a lot is range of motion, really quality range of motion, great motor control, awesome mobility. Because
What do you mean by motor control when you say motor control?
Motor control is really like, if I was to ask you to get into any position, you have the ability to control your body's range of motion into that position. You have the flexibility and the coordination to bring yourself into whatever range of motion you have that I asked you to get into. That's essentially that control, that motor control is the coordination to access full range of motion. And when you have that, and you also have the cardiovascular fitness, the VO2 max to go play and recover from any bout that was demanded upon you. You have the muscular endurance to be on the wake surfing board for as long as you want. And your low back's not giving out, your quads aren't quivering. You can just go play free. It's an amazing feeling. And it's why we joked and laughed about Katrin being able to go into a deep squat, 6 months into pregnancy. And, it's this freedom of movement. It's this freedom to go play and enjoy life to its fullness. And that was what I was saying, a decade and a half ago, that I wanted to figure out how can I find an avenue to give people the gift that I get to experience. And that is this freedom, to move, to play, to run, to jump, to whatever you want to go do, let's go do it. Let's go explore together. And I am currently, I think I'm gonna wear him down. My father-in-law just went through another heart procedure, and he's turning 75 in September. And there's this mountain in Hawaii that he has always wanted to bike up.
Cool.
And 2 years ago, he gave up on it.
Like on the bike ride?
No.
Or like gave up on the dream of it?
Gave up on the dream. And it's the one thing that fires me up more than anything in the world, of like watching somebody, like the fire in somebody's eyes die off because they just they gave up on the idea of something. And I really, really want to show him, like, Ken, we can still do this. You can still do this. And I think doing it together, pulling him along would be just absolutely amazing. But I want to see that for him.
Yeah.
And I want to see that just because you're turning 75 doesn't mean that you're done. Like, you're one of the fittest human beings on the bike that I've ever seen, especially for 75. Let's go do this thing together. But it's that freedom. It's like to never have to question. It's why I talk about all the time, like when I'm 50, I want to be the fittest 50-year-old I've ever heard of ever in life. And really, to me, what that looks like is capable of doing anything I want whenever I want. If I want to go go run routes with the boys because they want to run routes, or hey, let's go do an ultra just because we can and we want to, like, okay, fine, let's go do that, but let's go free and let's go play.
People right now are going, what the hell is running routes?
Yeah, touche. That's what you do as a wide
66?
receiver. Yeah. Yeah. Go play catch with the football.
That's what it is. It's like when you're saying that well-rounded, it pops up into like my deep subconscious of these times where I've edged into certain aspects of what you're talking about, but either because I've signed up for an event, or it's just the season of life I'm in. Case in point, like there was a time that I was doing Ironman, right? Which is like this incredible test of cardiovascular endurance.
Totally.
And I thought that was it was before I had found CrossFit. I thought that was the pinnacle of fitness. Like 3 sports, like even any one of those things is really impressive. Put those together, that's got to be the best. And I was a strength and conditioning coach at the time for high school athletes. And I can remember, I'm in the middle of my peak of my training. So I'm like supposed to be as fit as they come. And they'd be like, do this part of the workout with us. And I was like, and my ego went, don't do that. They're going to see you're a fraud. You can't jump on that 24-inch box.
Wow.
Like you can't pick up those dumbbells.
Yeah.
You can't do those things. And while I had gotten incredible capacity to be able to do a 10-hour Ironman, I was like not well rounded,
Right.
right? Coming out of that and finding CrossFit, I was like, okay, I need to get strong. So we went through this, and you probably remember this, the Get Huge program, where we all like gained 15 pounds. We were doing the heavy cream with every meal, and we did
Yeah.
the Get Huge program
Yeah.
based off of West Side. And all of a sudden, I'm the strongest I've ever been, almost put on like 50% onto my back squat. And now people are like, take class with us and do this workout with us. And I'm like, don't do it. That's going to hurt so bad. You're not going to like that. And being like, oh, wow. Yeah. And then, coming out of where this more recently, to your point, during COVID, I just got really exposed to how immobile I was. Like my flexibility, I just hadn't paid attention to it. So I couldn't, this was crazy. Like I used to do yoga and do a lot of the stuff and take care of my flexibility. Yeah. I went and took a yoga class, and I hadn't taken one for 10 years. When the instructor was giving us the brief of what's going to happen with the flow of the class, I couldn't sit Indian style. Maybe it's politically incorrect. Crisscross applesauce.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't sit crisscross applesauce. I had to put my hands back behind me and lean my torso back to support me, because my hips were so jacked up and tight that I couldn't even find that position.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, here I am. I'm under 10% body fat. Someone would look at me and go, that dude's shredded, that dude's ripped, that dude's so fit. Yet in my mind, I'm like, I'm so under capacity. And I love that idea of the well-rounded, right? The well-rounded is you have the VO2 max, you have the endurance, you have the strength, in the muscular endurance, you have the flexibility, the mobility, the motor control. Like, yes. Like totally. What, and this what you're saying is like, not only is it this mental freedom of like, hey, I'm doing the things, but the physical of like, yeah, let's go do the things.
Totally. And I think that you're really hitting a nail on the head of like, don't feel like you don't feel like a fraud in any modality that is asked of you. You can just say like, come do this with me. Yep. You got it. It's, it's like, we know there's plenty of really fit runners out there, but they can't squat their body weight. Right. And that's better. Like, we just have to call it out as well. It's like, let's put this on a spectrum. Like, yes. Running a 6-minute mile, running a 5-minute mile is so much better than not being able to do that. 100%. Right. 100%. Yeah. But the kind of the contention is, instead of chasing the 5:30 mile, maybe we're content with the 6-minute mile, but let's also be able to back squat our body weight, be able to get into a full squat, like that, those types of things. Absolutely. Be able to get full extension of your shoulders. Yeah. Totally. When you trip, you can catch yourself. You have enough reactivity and agility to do those things, explosiveness, and love that. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I love what you're talking about too, because this is something that I really lean to. Even in training for this last marathon that I did, I still sprinted 1 to 2 times a week. I did plyometrics 3 to 4 times a week. I strength trained 3 to 4 times a week. I did all of that still. And it was in conjunction with a high mileage, the highest mileage I had ever done in terms of a running plan. And it was alongside of that, because it's like those also feed the marathon. Those also feed the performance. They give me the durability for my tendons, ligaments, joints, and everything to feel healthy and to endure that process. Give me the force to have, the best running economy that I can have during that, especially at my body weight. And so it all plays together too. We're not saying it's just like, hey, one is better than the other. Having one is great. Having two is even better. Having all three, they interplay with each other, and they feed each other way more than
one is great. Having two is better. Having three is kind of the goal, the ultimate, right?
Yeah. Cool, man.